BTSN Wednesday, AI for increased productivity. What's up, Paulie Rob?
What up, G? What's going down, man?
It's all good. We got the bro Israel in the building. What's good, Izzy?
What's up with you, man?
Yeah, man, it's all good. We're gonna get the conversation started in a minute. We're gonna let the room cook up for a little bit, let the room cook up. Get a couple of people and tweet the room out if you can tweet the room out. This is going to be a barn burner. We got a good one going on today. We got the bro Israel Wilson in the building. Going to talk to us a little bit about AI, some other burgeoning technologies out there in the Web3 space. This is going to be a heater conversation. If you know, you know, and if you know, you should be here. BTSN Wednesday. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm sharing it in a couple Telegram groups. See what that does. Boom,
Yeah, I'm
boom, boom.
sharing it as well.
Yes, so this is some good game going on right here because I personally have been using AI and it has been increasing my productivity, and I'm anxious to hear what Israel has to say about these new technologies coming out. And I also want to get, and I think I'm gonna ask. I think if we cool enough, Izzy might give us some tips for how to move this year in the Web3 space. Give us some moves on what was the moves to make. Give us some future things that we need to know about. I don't know. This could be some real game. I don't know. Tune in. Let's see what's cracking. BTSN Wednesday. We out here winning on Wednesday. That's how we do it.
Indeed, indeed. Boom. There we go. There. And chat. Boom. And send. Twitter be trying to get that money, man. They want you to sponsor everything.
That,
That's what we really need AI for. We need AI to do social media better. They need to stop using AI against us.
so is it the algorithm? Is it AI that's working against us or the algorithm? I guess the algorithm will be considered AI.
The algorithm is a type of, machine learning AI. It's machine learning more than AI. That basically, defines or predefined set of rules. AI uses algorithms. It's just a predefined set of rules to state, what they're going to do. Boom.
Okay, I get that. I get that.
Yeah. We might as well just start the conversation. 9 minutes. I shared it out. We'll see what else is out. I put in a couple rooms. It was a little bit. If we put it out earlier, I got the flyer like around an hour ago.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
these things have a way of catching some traction a little later, but the conversation is still the conversation. This is what we're gonna have. Polly Rob, what's going on with you, man? I know you've been doing some things in the AI space, man. I know I know you nerd out a lot about stuff like this, man. What's going on with you, Polly Rob?
Well, for me, I'm actually just getting warmed up in it. A lot of my colleagues, they've been jumping into the AI heavy. Like my boy Salini, he's on the call right now. Shout out to Salini. Hopefully he'll share with you guys a little bit of what's been going on. But I'll just share my experience so far of what I've done. So I started off with the chat AI. I know it's like two of them, but I started off with the chat AI, and for me, first off, I do want to say that my boy Salini put me up on it. Like one day, like usually we always talk about different things regarding productivity, music, tech, film, things like that. And then one day he was like, "Yo, you need to check this out." And I looked at it and I'm like, "Okay, this is crazy," because he showed me some examples of what he did, but I didn't really go into full detail in the very beginning. Um, until one day I was just on my leisure time and I was like, you know what, let me check this out. And I immediately hit him back and was like, oh my God. So What we ended up doing after we had like a great conversation just about the productivity of what it can do, because with the chat AI is mainly like text and things like that. So we started experimenting with songwriting. You know what I mean? With the chat AI, like actually um, telling the AI like you want a love song about high schoolers, written by like we did written by Bryson Tiller or something like that. And it spit out like a full song. Two verses, bridge, hook, you know what I mean? And you can tell them to, tell the AI to modify, certain lines or make it a little bit more, fun, or make the wording more fun, make, the concept go in depth a little bit more towards the bridge. So it was crazy. And we did a couple of those, and then we actually like, I'm a producer and engineer, so I actually crafted a record with that. And it's funny because prior to us having that conversation and using the AI, we had a conversation naturally just talking about how it was difficult to sometimes get certain songwriters or writers on board naturally to just work. You know what I mean? Like, just like I think the concept of like networking is, people just really got to focus more and more on networking, especially with this stuff. So we had a conversation about that. Like, man, it's hard to find songwriters these days. I'm a songwriter myself, but I love to bounce different ideas off of different people. Like, I really believe in making, team records, like, coming together as a team and making records. So, fast forward to us, experimenting with the songwriting aspect. It was like, first it blew my mind of how much it rhymed, how much it was in pocket with the topic. It was crazy. It was crazy. Now I could find there were a bunch of flaws because you have to keep modifying it, but just creatively there are a bunch of flaws in it that I could see from a perspective of how we would originally write a song for today, or how we will formulate something. Like, everything is not just, a verse, hook, bridge, so there are creative elements that I don't think the AI is going to be able to pick up, because you have to literally like experiment and work on those certain type of things to get a particular sound. But it was refreshing to figure out that you can actually get a start, a great idea to start off a song, using AI. And like for me, just to be quite honest, you know, I didn't use all of the lyrics of the song when it spit it out, only because my writing style and how I approach things is from a unique, weird way. So all it really took was for me to read a little bit of what the AI wrote, and I kind of took a phrase or two that I liked from there, and then I started to kind of create the record from that aspect of it. You know what I mean? So that was really refreshing, for me. Then we got into uh, the AI that makes like the artworks and things like that. And I'll kind of let Selene talk to you guys about that, because I'm not too familiar with that part of it. But in terms of like the songwriting aspect, like when I tell you it's crazy, like it was crazy of just not even what it was spitting out, but just the ideas that it gave me from what it spat out. You know what I mean? I also tried the AI in terms of like writing like privacy policy documents or wording to go for like websites, or e-commerce websites, things like that. You can like frequently asked questions. You can, try to get it to do stuff like that. Like, I'm into the administrative side of it as well. So a lot of those elements of, writing documents, or putting together decks. Like, let's say if you wanted to have like a mission statement, or just the overall summary of the deck. Like, I would write something, and then I would put it in the AI and tell AI to make a little bit more profound statement from what I've already written. You know what I mean? And then just kind of play with that a little bit and see the
Mm-hmm.
ideas that comes from there. I've also played with it in just in the aspect of uh, of of trying to get different methods and ways to organize like my video content, or like you can literally like ask it, yo, what are the best ways to organize uh, music files, or to organize video files, things like that, and it just kind of like just spit out information of something that you can use in the future. So it for me it's refreshing. Am I at the point where I feel like it's taking people's jobs? No, because I still believe that this is still the era of the best creatives learning how to use AI and the power of the tools that they have to be able to create something that can ultimately be the best that it could possibly be.
Yeah.
But it is refreshing to know that, and I'm pretty sure most of you can feel me when I say this. Um, we tired of the bullshitters. We tired of somebody who does this particular thing that probably we don't do, but we gotta wait on them. So if a songwriter or a administrative assistant is taking too long with writing this document or creating this bridge, god damn it, we got something that can help that idea go along. Like it's freaking crazy, man. I don't want to talk too long. I want to let y'all go, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was just my experiences so far with AI.
BTSN Wednesdays, AI for increased productivity. Yo, you say a lot. Now, one little bit of conversation, you say a lot. A lot of things that you talked about centered around prompt engineering. So, with that being said, we got the man. We got somebody in the building that's going to help us kind of unpack a lot of this stuff. The homie Israel Wilson's in here. He's an artist, executive, and advisor. He's been working in the intersection of Web3 and entertainment since they converged. He's loving every minute of it. Israel, man, share a little bit about AI and this technology with us real quick, bro, and kind of lead us into this conversation. Keep the conversation going for us. What's going on, bro?
What's going on? Yeah, I like the last comment that the brother was talking about. I feel like it's the great equalizer. I think people that have explained things, we see that 9 out of 10 startups fail. And I truly believe that that's because people that can put together presentations aren't necessarily, and write good emails and can communicate well, aren't necessarily good at building technology or building companies. And so
Facts.
the people that bullshitted their ways to millions. They write good grants, but they don't really care about people. They make good decks, but they don't really care about solving the problem that they're talking about solving. They were good at getting places on time for a couple of years, or their parents went to some Ivy League school or something and got them in there through the alumni track. And so they find themselves positioned well to go and get some money, but that's not necessarily, or they won a popularity contest. That's a big one. You know, they got a popularity contest or they got a team. This is ChatGPT gives you a whole team of your own. So you could run things and do things. So that's cool. But I've been on Create Labs. So with Create Labs and NYC Media Center, they gave me, before that, Walter the Brower. He got a company called XY.ai, and I got to give him a shout out. He gave me my first GPT-3 access. So GPT-3 is what Chat GPT is built on. Actually, Chat GPT now is GPT 3.5. So I got OpenAI access after waiting for like 2 years. I got it in 2 weeks because Walter called somebody and got me access. And then NYC Media Lab added me to their company account. So I've been doing it with AI for a long time. This is a piece of art that I made with AI about 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now. And after 2018, when I started deciding to one day be a crypto artist, I realized that my pencil sketches weren't going to be good enough. And so I started figuring out ways in which I could use AI to augment my art. And now that's been the text to image stuff and everything. So there's a lot of a lot of ways in which AI is going to influence stuff. But what Rob said is one of the true things. Like AI can't discern. It's even hard for human beings to discern between what is good, what is great, what is bad musically or visually. It's a certain type of person that can see those types of things. And so that type of person that could actually, you know, understand when something is good or something is bad is now more important than the person that could, you know, probably make something bad because they know music theory or something like that. So, you know, that's really what it is. Now it's like discernment. So there's gonna be a filter. There's gonna be a filter where if things are created, and then if you can make sure that if you can really see that something is good, right, you can start really having some real progress. And people that are creative now are kind of the most important people.
Big facts. Big facts. And it's crazy because like like you said, like these days we're forced to wear multiple like hats. You know what I mean? We gotta be the creators, we gotta be the administrators, we have to be the facilitators of the business. It's a lot. And sometimes, it's just that little nudge, and that nudge is really just a little bit of energy to get you started. I'm a true believer in when you sometimes people are better at modifying a certain idea or layout better than they are like creating it in the first hand. You know what I mean? I've seen producers who are better at modifying and adding or subtracting certain things from a production that made the record just that much more valid. Hints to Dr. Dre. Hints to Puff Daddy. I've seen directors who are better at taking the content and shaping it to where you get a better film, hence the, like people like Zack Snyder, like with the Snyder Cut for Justice League. Whether you like the first Justice League or the second one, either way, there were two different types of the ways that you cut it and the way how they put it together. It's just it's just more empowering to know that there is something here that you can start those ideas with and you can modify from there. For me, I'm very good as much as I am a producer. I'm more so an engineer. So I come from the editing field. I come from the modifying, slicing, cutting, adding, subtracting, you know what I mean, layering, taking away. Like I come from that field. So like you said with the AI, if there's a possibility, which there is, to go in and say, yo, write me a proposal for a liquor sponsor in the approach of servicing their uh, you know city events or events or whatnot, and it spit out something, and you can modify that from there. It's like you got one step closer to your goal of possibly working with them or getting a sponsorship or whatever the case may be. you know um I think it's remarkable. It's funny about where it's going to go. I've seen some stuff that my boy Salini just showed me today where it's like yo, it's literally he sent me a clip of audio clip of a Biggie Smalls voice saying local astronauts. Listen to what I'm telling you right now. He sent me a clip of Biggie Smalls voice in audio saying local astronauts. I started my company, we started our company after he passed. Like AI is doing that. This is crazy. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like they're literally using AI to manipulate someone's voice, and you can possibly use it in in a verse, like make a verse out of it. It's crazy. You know
Yeah,
what I
The
mean?
I like drops. Like so I'm on New Music Wednesdays every day. Today on Wednesday, I think today like Lil Pat, this kid Lil Pat from New Orleans, he's in Houston. He got a big song blowing up. Jim Jones was on there a couple weeks ago. Coy Leray, there's always an artist there. Now the DJs need the artist to make one some DJ pools like make need artists to make 2,000 drops for all the DJs. What if the artist could just speak into something and they can have and they could or they could fit some video down and then they can make the 2,000 drops for the DJs with the artist's permission, of course, because you
Right.
don't people just using your voice out the blue. But hey, look, hey, yeah, you want to make those 2,000 drops? Hey, here's my AI. Feed me the numbers and I'll send you back the drops. Feed me the names and I'll send you back the drops. You see what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff.
Crazy. And if
that's crazy.
anybody knows in that field of you doing drops as an artist, that is a long, strenuous process, especially if you're trying to make those drops unique to the DJ to make sure that they like really, really play it. So I feel you on that, yo.
Yeah, that's a big, big process. For me, it's a lot of organization. Like I've got all these thoughts and I've got all these things, but like the organization of my thoughts and the way in which so another person can understand them, because I'm an AZ person. I'm a big picture person. I don't think linearly. I think in quantum terms. I see so every time I turn around, I've seen 10 years out of turn. So now I'm sitting here and I'm trying to simplify that for another person to understand that, and it's really been helping me be able to do that. Then also too, for me a lot of times, like the one thing that will stop me is somebody will ask for a proposal. I don't give clients proposals. If somebody asks me for a proposal, I gotta go and get somebody else to do it. I gotta get a deck to do it. Right now I got two amazing amazing decks because it allows me to do exactly what you're talking about, Rob. Write down what I'm thinking about, what I'm about to do, then hey, make a deck out of this. Let's figure this out, But then the crazy and so I've got like a lot of people are searching for opportunities or searching for sponsorships or searching for connections or things like that. I'm not searching for any of that. I got tons of I got too many resources. I got too many opportunities. I got too many sponsors. I got too many. What I don't have is the ability to present it. And before, I used to have to partner with people that were good at making presentations, and now I can do that myself. And so that that really is saving me time and saving me time with the bullshitters or the people that's what I mean. Like it's a lot of little politics and stuff that go into that. So now it's a lot easier just to be like, okay. And then the crazy thing about it is, once I got one sponsorship package ready for like Hennessy, we had a conversation with Hennessy today. Now, let's say I got that same thing from Hennessy, and I take that same proposal and I reiterate it now
Yep.
for another brand.
Change the assets. Yep. And spit it for another company. Yep.
Yeah, all I gotta say is rewrite this same thing focused on Bacardi for events during Cinco de Mayo, and it's gonna post me out another proposal. Man, that's crazy.
You know the one thing. I'm sorry. I just got to say this real quick. You know the one thing that it's really done since I've noticed AI is, I'm not gonna lie, it's made me very furious at some of the people I used to work with that didn't get stuff done on time. It just makes me more furious. It's like, dude, not only are you in competition with other people that's trying to do these things that you're trying to do, you're now going to be in competition with a computer who can do it 30 times faster than you. What are we doing? We got whatever y'all want to do in terms of y'all profession and y'all workload, y'all better get to it. Better get to it. But go ahead, everybody.
Absolutely. Now, I do see BTSN Wednesdays, AI for increased productivity. We got a couple people in the audience. We got Israel Wilson in the building. See Handcraft over here. I know that we start talking a little bit about drops and things. That's so we actually have someone on the call who's in the radio industry. Tell us a little bit about how AI is helping the music industry or the radio industry, Handcraft.
Radio is slow. So they're usually behind on everything. And, and the crazy thing is, like, I'm going to have to figure out a way to cleverly, Trojan horse this information into the people that I deal with on a regular basis. Cause, like, like, man, the whack thing, especially about urban radio, man, we're so reactionary. And you have a lot of people behind the board, behind the mic that, like, have their thumb on the pulse. But you have these corporate people that don't 100% understand it. 1,000%. So, like, you really have to, like, slowly with the baby spoon feed them information to make it palpable for them to understand. I've been using AI, for, like, a lot of, like, graphic work and art, because, like, I already kind of knew how to do, graphic design, but the stuff that I've been able to do with AI is, like, as it relates to, like, flyers, promo materials, even, like, single release covers, that's been helping me out tremendously. And even which I was talking about the like with the what was it, PT, what was it, the thing called?
Chat GPT.
Yo, so I heard about it. I've been hearing about it for, like, about a month or so. And yesterday I heard about it, like, two times before 2 p.m. And then when I took my kid to his Cub Scout meeting, like, there was a dude there who, like, we like the hip hop dads that be there and kind of tucked off to the side, talking while they doing their thing. Yo, and he was just showing me how he was doing all these proposals on the chat GPT thing, right? So I'm like, all right, man. So I downloaded the thing, opened it up. I typed in, like, a concept that I had for, like, this horror movie, right? And it didn't do it because it doesn't do stuff that involves murder, death, killing, like harming people. But I changed a couple keywords in the synopsis of what I wanted the thing to create, and it created a whole script for a movie with fade in, daytime, blah 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 blah, story. So the crazy thing is, man, like the going off of what Rob was saying about how, like, hey man, we are really in the John Henry era where we have to work more aggressively against these machines, because these things is turning out work faster than the people that we're relying on. But one thing that it'll never really truly be able to 100% trump in certain aspects of it is the creativity of our human minds. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can walk the walk and talk the talk, but there's certain nuances that we as people will be able to nail as it relates to certain concepts and ideas. But it does create a hell of a framework for you to work off of, and it's just mind blowing. And even what you were saying a second ago about, like, DJs doing AI drops. Yeah, I mean, those lists get kind of long, and I'm one of those psychos who actually enjoys, like, going name by name and trying to think of something creative to say for people. But for people who like to phone it in and who could barely talk good, Webby, um, you know, AI drops would definitely probably be the best route for them, because a lot of people hate doing that sort of thing. So I'm just really interested to see where we're gonna be at with everything in the next 6 months, because everything is moving so rapidly.
Really quick head crack, and I don't mean to give away the thing, but that video that you sent me, was that done partially
Uh,
with?
with AI. So, like, all the images in that particular music video, they were all, like, AI generated images. How the person who, like, actually turned it around and was able to make it move and tell this continuous story, it's beyond me. Like, if I knew how he did it, I wouldn't have to pay him for the next one. But, you know, cats who who take the information, take the knowledge, and take the technology and take the time to learn it and get ahead of it, you definitely stand to be able to make a nice, pretty penny off of, like, providing services for people who know how to use it, especially if you're really doing good quality work like my man did. So I'm just blown away. And there's another one I need to send you too, Rob, that's like a vibe as well, that another AI guy did. And they make great visualizers, especially if, like, you're an artist and you don't want to spend, like, over a certain amount of money to produce a music
Yeah,
video. This is the easiest way out to make new engaging content that you can, use to keep fans engaged while you figuring out which songs you really need to spend money to put music videos out for.
yeah, man, yeah. Listen, when you sent me that video, I'm like, whoa, like, it's fully engaging. You guys will see it soon. You guys will see it soon. We working.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
AI for increased productivity, BTSN Wednesdays. If you have not done it already, go ahead and follow BTSN at BTSN Pass on Twitter so that you can be up to date on the latest conversations. We have conversations on Tuesdays and Wednesdays every week. Today is BTSN Wednesdays, where we having a conversation about AI for increased productivity. I want to give you guys a little bit of game because it is an opportunity for us to share some game one to another. And if you have some game about AI, please come on up to the stage and share some of your knowledge about that. We'd love to hear from you. If you are into making decks, a lot of people have said things about decks today online. I'm gonna give you some games. So throughout the conversation, I'll be throwing out websites and things of that sort that you can go to use AI to increase your productivity. And if you scale a couple of these websites together, you may be able to put some great things together. So in regards to pitch decks, there is an app called ToMe.app. That's TOME.app. And if you go to ToMe.app, you'll put your information in there and you'll kind of give it your prompting on what you want out of a pitch deck. And not only will it give you a pitch deck, but it'll also give you a pitch deck with pictures that are generated from Midjourney. And if you are on another thing about that as well, again, that's ToMe.app, TOME.app. And another thing is, if you're really into prompt engineering, this is a really great way for you to be able to get the most out of AI, is being able to understand the prompts and how to put them in. What I often tell people is that you don't want to put nothing proprietary in the prompts because you don't want it to learn your stuff. So just try to make it as general as possible, but try to get the most out of it as you can. I too, like Hancock, had put in a movie, and I was amazed by how that thing wrote the whole movie, whole script and everything. I was thoroughly amazed, but what I saw it ultimately as once I read through the script was a guideline. Basically, if you're really if you're a person who's lacking productivity and you need something to kind of get you started, I feel like AI will get you in the game. It will start your script. It will start your book. It will start these things, but I still feel like you have to go in there and kind of tweak it and make it your own when it's all said and done. So it has a starter piece. AI, I believe, works great. What do you guys think?
I already said what I think. Like, yeah, definitely. And like I said, you know, it's a tool now that certain people have it on their home screen. Like I got four things on my thing. I got Chrome, I got messages, and I got a phone, and I got my photos. I'm thinking about replacing my photos with Chat GPT on my bottom of my home screen. So I got access to it, or even better, replacing the Chrome, the Chrome extension. So who needs Google and this and that. The only if they once they make a Chat GPT thing that's like a search engine and videos pop up and all types of different things like that, like U.com is one of them like that. Like U.com, I'm sure on some people's phone has already replaced Google.
Absolutely. And also, not only has you.com replaced it, but if you're into writing out copy, then like if you need copy for anything, YouTube posts, if it's Instagram posts, whatever it may be, copy.ai is the website that you go to. They're talking about increasing productivity. This is AI for increased productivity. So it's up for us to give you this game on where to go so that you can be able to increase your productivity. We're not hiding the game, we're sharing the game. If you know, you know. So copy.ai is where you go if you want to make copy. Now this is a paid service, but they do have some free things. You can actually take the text from ChatGPT or ChatGPT 3 and put it into Copy AI, and then we'll rewrite it for you and make it less AI and make it more human. That's a pro tip for you. So if you put those two things together, you're good. Selene, I see you had your hand up. You was about to say something, bro. Go ahead and chime in.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, sir.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to just bring up like engineering. I've been looking into it. One of the coolest things that I've seen is it's a multi-persona prompt engineering. So if you go into the playgrounds, you can't really do it in Chat GPT. So if you go in the playgrounds where you're messing with the original GPT-3, what you can do is set up a business meeting where you're the CEO and you set up personas of all of the experts. Kind of like if you were writing a script, you would give, before you start, you have to give all the characters names and roles at this fictional company. Then you can start the meeting and say, all right, today we're going to do this. And you can ask the marketing department, what are you going to do about this situation? What do you need from us? And then you can talk to, like, AI plays basically every other role at the table. It's a great brainstorming tool that I've never really seen anywhere. But you can knock out business ideas. You can actually have the legal department sitting in the corner asking, and you can ask them, out of this whole conversation we've had, legal, what do you have questions about? So it's a really weird way of engineering the prompt, and it's a specific way of doing it. But you can have Chat GPT play an entire the entire role of all the heads of the fictional company, and you be the CEO and really knock out pretty much any questions you have about business at all.
That is high level prompt engineering right there, my brother. I mean, that is now we talk about prompt engineering. There is your ABC prompt engineer. Now, most people are doing right now is just tell me or write me, right? But then when you're able to engineer the prompts to be able to create your whole boardroom and then ask them questions throughout that conversation to be able to answer everything that you have in regards to the topic that you're utilizing at that moment, that is high level prompt engineering. Now, we all need to be on and that we're all will be on at some point. It's just using your imagination. So that was big game given by Selene. What you think about that, head cracker? So you got your hands up.
Well, I mean, similar space, but the question I had, I mean, like, okay, cool. We could definitely utilize AI to overall improve our productivity. But as AI starts to eliminate jobs that people used to do, what do you feel like the best route is to be that much more ahead of technology to where you can kind of AI proof your job or your position from being eliminated by the ease of access that AI provides?
I would say tapping the APIs, but Israel, what do you think about that?
I don't think that there is any way to AI proof your job. You just have to be like a ninja. It's just like and be able to utilize the tool to maximize your capabilities. But I don't think that anybody's. I think that the future of work is going to be drastically different than it is now, and we're seeing a shift. And we're not going to have traditional jobs anymore. We're seeing massive layoffs of tech jobs, and we've gone through these different stages where right there's this cluster where people can't afford right now. 14 million Americans between the ages of 25 and 40 have moved back in with their parents, citing that they couldn't make rent, they couldn't pay their rent. The cost of living is going up while the cost of pay remains stagnant. Now, what if, and the crazy thing is, what we know about these jobs is that most of the time that you at your job, unless you have a very highly labor intensive job like Amazon or something like that, that's focused on making you work every single second, you're not working every single second. So what if, or every single day? So what if we could reduce the work week or reduce it so that people working 10 hours a day for 4 different jobs for double the pay that they would have been making anyways. So now they've doubled the pay. The employer has made less, has been able to lower their expenses. Also, too, I think that the future of work and the way that I'm forming out the companies that I'm building now is I want to be partnered with the people that I work with. We're a hunting party together. We eat what we kill together, and I'm willing to take less than any other CEO so that everybody else can get more. I'm not trying to live off of my company. I think that a lot of companies are going to fail just because of that. Like the executives, the sad thing is the executives are the people that they should be firing, but the executives are the ones that are going to make the decision, and they're going to let the people go before them. And then it's going to be a whole bunch of androids working for executives. And unless people start choosing where they spend their money, who they spend their time with, how they spend their work. After COVID, 94% of people in Silicon Valley said that they did not want to go back into the job. Guess what? Now there is no more going back into a job for thought leaders and workers. Actually left my and not going into my headquarters since like November of that year. I was scaling a food business, and I realized that I could do everything that I needed to do from home. Why was I even coming in there? Why was I spending the most frustrating part of the day was the traffic in and the traffic back? And I was only there because they wanted me to be there, not because I needed to be there. So what I'm saying to say all that is It's not going to be future proof. What we got to do is we got to change systems. We got to change society. We got to have a universal basic income. We got to tax the robots. So if employers replace everybody with robots, then we got to make the robots be taxed like the employees, have that income tax funneled into universal basic income system, and create a society where people can explore a variety of fields. So we're moving away from this labor-based society. In that, creativity becomes even more powerful. Like right now, we have a VFX shortage. Anybody that knows, I got Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Paramount, Stars, HBO Max, and I still don't got enough to watch. I'm into something very specific. I'm into sci-fi. I need more content. There's plenty of jobs out there for people that can keep on creating that good content. Music. People are listening to music every single hour of every single day. There's more chances for music, and they all play off of each other. So when you go on, if you go on icgnu.com, right now what I do is I got a collective that anybody can join. It's called the ICGNU Collective. Damien is in the collective. Audrey is a big part of it, and she's a part of everything that I do. We're actually, I think all the three of us are headed to East Denver pretty soon for this hackathon next month, building out tools for Web3 and stuff like that. But on this, I'm building out a company that's going to be build out tools and build out things for music to help them create immersive experiences, deepen fan engagement, uh, create immersive productions, utilize AI in the production process of film, utilize Web3 in the distribution process of film. I got one of my partners that I talked to today. He's got a gaming company that streams games using Web3. And so we're going to, but the thing is that if we, so we have these two visions of the future, any of us that's into AI or into sci-fi have seen. So one vision of the future is we go into this dystopian society. That's the one we're headed to if we keep the norms and mores of this society as technology progresses. If culture and society don't progress at the same rate as technology, then we're going to find ourselves in a losing position. On the other hand, if we change, if we're willing to change the way we think of things, then suddenly we can enter into a society where there's more than enough food, there's more than enough housing, there's more than enough things to do, and everyone is living an abundant life. That is possible, but it's not possible if we keep things going the way they are. So that's why in 2008, so I'm a political science, so an Africana studies major with a focus on political science and urban revitalization. That led me to economics, and I became an Austrian economist. I believe, I don't believe in balanced economies. I don't believe you can just print up money without creating value. I don't believe in all of that. I believe that markets should create prices and that there's an invisible hand that kind of even things out when you leave things alone. So I don't believe in big government, especially when it comes to monetary policy. So suddenly, after I'm doing all these what I realized is that, there's this classic battle. So there's this classic battle that's been going on for a long time. On one side, you have labor. On the other side, you have capital. Labor always wants more capital for its labor. Capital always wants more labor for its capital. And you're stuck. Now, the crazy thing is, all the power is on the side of labor. But but capital has spent a lot of time brainwashing people. So people believe that money actually has a value or that money is the valuable part. But actually, people have to create things. People do things. Money is just a medium of exchange between two valuable parties. And so since I understood that, what I did was I started exchanging things with people trying to do barter systems and tokens and this and that. And then the third token experiment was Bitcoin. And then I went around my school. My first investor, who's now heading infrastructure at the company that I'm currently working at, he was thought that I was crazy. Everybody thought that I was crazy, but eventually it got proven right. And I knew that money wasn't real, but Bitcoin proved how unreal money is. Today, money is about $20,000 unreal. The 20,000x unreal. And anybody that believes otherwise is silly and fooling themselves. And so the reality is that we can create a society that is abundant, but it's only going to be abundant for those that make different choices. Those societies, those governments, and those individuals who choose to maintain the status quo will lose and they don't have any way out of that. So that's my soapbox thing. Now, fast forward. Now, after 12 years of experience in that stuff, I got on this app called Clubhouse and I started having these big rooms around cryptocurrency and I explained DeFi to people. And then there was a big boom, a bigger boom in the DeFi market. Then I started explaining NFTs to people. And then a couple months later, People came out and Bored Apes came out and Gary Vee came out because some was suddenly somebody that actually knew what they were talking about this thing had a chance to talk to people about this thing and it unlocked the potential of a lot of people. It unlocked the world. And that's another thing that we need to be careful of even more right now that there's AI, just like when there was Google and YouTube. Now that there's AI, there are going to be people that pose to know like they're experts. They're going to propose to act like they know something, but all they are, but it takes, or observations are formed in a moment, but perspective is formed over time. And a perspective is way different than an observation. A person walking by a house can observe the house. A person living in the house can observe the house even more. But the architect and the builder of that house has a perspective. They know where the wiring is, they know where the plumbing is, they understand how it was built. And that perspective, we need to really value more and more perspectives and people who have a lot of experience with these things because it's just like with music. I'm sure that if somebody was to hop behind a mixing board that studied it on YouTube or went to Full Sail 6 months ago and came in the studio acting like they were an expert, they would get laughed out the studio. There's no way you can catch up. It's only time. There's little tricks that you're going to learn. But with these burgeoning industries, there have been people that have come in and they act like they don't care about NFTs. They don't care about Web3. They don't care about DeFi. They don't care about AI. They are opportunists jumping into something that they believe is valuable for them right now, but all they can do is mislead people because they lack perspective. All they're doing is relaying their observations. And so that's going to be very important. But with that right amount of information from people with high level perspectives around things, then we can actually save the world from what the path that we're going down. But we got to be courageous enough to do that, and we got to be aware enough of the forthcoming world. And the only way that that's going to happen is by promoting voices and people that actually know what they're talking about and spending time on the giving to people what we know and contributing to the world in different ways. And so I'll land my plane with this. The upside to all of this is that every single human being, my movement, I see G in you, I see God in you, is about every single human being is a genius. Every single human being is divine. Every single human being has a contribution. It's just that so many people want to hop in the same lane, or people don't see the value in themselves. So they go and they work at McDonald's, a system before made. There's somebody that might have had to cure the cancer, but he's a security guard somewhere. There's somebody that might sing like Luther Vandross, but they're working at Walmart because of the way society is structured. And so, with this restructuring of society, maybe there's a place for those people. And that's what I work at every day, is creating environments where all types of genius can thrive with emphasis on the all. And my company is focused around that. And suddenly, through that portal, I'm able to empower a lot of people.
I mean, woo, the mic is hot. Who want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll
I'll
piggyback
go.
that. You go? You go.
Go ahead. I can
Go ahead,
add
Damon.
afterwards.
No, Damon, it's on you, Damon. Go ahead.
All right. First off, thank you for having me, Polly Rob, BTSN Pass. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for having me up here. Piggyback to what Israel says. First off, I'm a globalist. I think what he's talking about with this whole global reconstruction thing is prominent, right? Like, so it's a bottom up movement. We got a lot of people at the top that have been at the top far too long, and they got a lot to lose. They're not going to participate. We don't even want them to participate. Trying to get these hedge funds and all these top management teams in, they've been controlling everything. We don't want them to participate. We want to try to keep it away from them to a degree and try to make this a bottom-up movement to kind of piggyback off of what he's saying of, you know, it is a real global reconstruction. You know what I mean? I talked to somebody in Costa Rica today on an NFT movement, but there's only like 2 people down there. So they're just now getting into technology. And when it comes to AI, I'm a developer. And so I've been using Copilot from GitHub, and it just completes out my code for me. So it already kind of goes to my code base, knows what I'm doing, knows what I'm working on, and kind of completes it out. It doesn't do it 100%, like you said, and it gives me a good framework, and I can go back and maybe change a few things and be that architect of it. But when it comes to a global scale, it's moving, and so some of these problems are all first world problems. You know what I mean? Like some of these issues, I don't even. We got people that don't have clean water, running water. You know, there's still global issues that we're still trying to tackle on that scale. And so some of these issues are still first world problems that we're like, oh no, people are going to lose their jobs. Well, you better enforce a UBI for those people, or some sort of form of welfare. I grew up on food stamps and going to church kitchens, so no stranger to that shit. But that's what should kind of be in place to kind of support a creative economy of people being able to be artists and engineers and just being able to pursue their passions versus like you said, going to McDonald's and having to work for the man, because let's face it, the man's been controlling shit, right? Like the system's controlling shit. People at the top been controlling shit, and they have something to lose by creatives having control over shit. Now, I'm not saying like, you know, creatives just take over the whole world, because, you know, we still need like engineers to design out factories, but with AI, machinery, and where we're at this point in time, technology can take over. They can build whole developments of housings and with just the blueprints. You know what I mean? Like robots can come in and build full out houses and full communities just by having those blueprints, and engineers that can, you know, sit there and make sure that the houses are working right, the robots are working right. So I just wanted to piggyback off of that of global reconstruction and, you know, this whole de-dollarization. I'm kind of for it. So, you know, that's kind of my position. And AI and technology is just a helping hand for those that didn't necessarily have that, like me growing up. So, just being able to communicate with people on a large scale, on a global scale, and being able to kind of like open up borders and being able to move throughout the world in an easier way, and having those people in the world be able to move too, right? Like it's not necessarily like you want to move from your home, you just want to move from your home to find a better opportunity. You know, people don't want to come here to America where I'm at just, you know, to live here. They want the opportunity that this place provides them, versus, you know, if Gambia has it, or if Costa Rica has those same opportunities, then they wouldn't leave. They would want to stay in their home. They would want to be with their families. And that's kind of what I'm working on. I'm working on blockchain and that whole space, and AI is just going to be a helper. So that's what my 2 cents.
Thank you, Dan. I really appreciate that.
Nice.
We got this is BTSN Wednesday, AI for increased productivity. We have been getting some amazing game from a lot of people on the call today, and some tremendous input. I see Mariah there. She just popped in as a speaker. You want to give a little input, Mariah?
First of all, this is the gang. I'm so honored to be here. Israel, thank you for the invitation. And BTS, y'all are it. Y'all are it. Yeah, I'm just glad to be here. I had no idea this room was gonna have. Well, actually, I did, because Israel's a part of it. But I didn't know how high level and how much energy we'd be sharing in this room. So I'm just glad to be here. My name's Mariah. They call me Mother on the blockchain. I do a lot. I'm a technical developer, marketer, educator, activist, all that. In terms of AI, I mean, because I would really go back to Dame's point that we already have global issues. So, like, for instance, I just hosted an event at the World Economic Forum last week, and they were able to share some statistics that are almost scary. So by 2069, every person on Earth is estimated to have internet access. And by 2050, the world is expected to fully eradicate malaria. And then by 2040, the global auto industry is supposedly only going to produce electric cars. So what I have come to learn in terms of being a globalist, as Damien would share, is that there's already a plan in place, right? So if we aren't finding alignment to leverage the tools so that we're a part of this progress or economic mobility, because that's really what we're talking about, then that's where the detriment happens. So my focus right now has really just been hardcore blockchain education so that we could ethically onboard as many minorities as possible, because that's where the innovation is actually going to spur from so that we have the solutions we need. But that's a little bit about me. I'm glad to be here. I'm an open book and you can absolutely ask me anything. I just really appreciate the space.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. BTSN Wednesdays, AI for increased productivity. Israel, I saw you come. I saw your mic come off real quick. Did you have anything you wanted to input real fast, Israel?
Yeah, I just was thinking. I just want to extend a little bit, piggyback. Ping pong back off of Damien. So the like a lot of this, the arguments is that we don't have enough, that there isn't enough land, that there isn't enough food, that we have to have population control, that the population is the problem. But that's not true. We have technology that can supply us with an abundance of food. We have an abundance of land. There is actually more vacant land than there is land that we live on. We just happen to congregate in cities because that's where the work is. And so that's what we need, the system of work as a sense of purpose, or work as a way of a means of control, or work as the thing that motivates society, is suddenly disrupted by AI and robotics. And robots, we're talking what Damien was saying, robots don't have to sleep. They don't have to see at nighttime. They can just build and build and build. Alternately, AI doesn't have to think within limits. So an AI can go through millions and millions of iterations, helping us build stronger structures, test that structure mathematically, reshape society, literally reshape society. We've had houses right now built for hundreds of years, basically the same way. Since the Civil War, houses are still built the same way that they were built. I mean, how does that make sense? Why in Florida does a hurricane hit a house again and then they rebuild it in the same shape with the same materials? How does an earthquake destroy everything and they rebuild it the same way with the same materials? Why are we still building roads out of asphalt? We've been using asphalt for over 100 years. We have permacrete that can soak up, we have hempcrete that can soak up water. We could actually make every
Facts.
road solar cells. We got all this different stuff. It's limited because somebody makes money off of asphalt and wants to keep it that way. Somebody makes money off of fossil fuels and they want to keep it that way. Somebody makes money building houses and so they keep it that way. The guy that zones the houses doesn't know anything about future technology. He would have to relearn something. And the politicians in City Hall all want to keep it that way because they've already defined a system. And that's the problem. The problem is the establishment. You know what I mean? Society is not established, it is emergent. The future is not established, it's an emergent. And the establishment is delaying the future from emerging. And it's sad because that's the big dangerous place that we're in, where maybe we don't go all the way to the future. Maybe the future isn't bright. Maybe it's bleak. Maybe there are more wars and more famine because we're headed there. We're going to be there. And right now, central banks, cryptocurrency was invented because of central banks. It was invented as an alternative to central banks. It wasn't invented for fraud or money, quote unquote, money laundering, which look into what money laundering is, quote unquote. You know what I mean? It wasn't invented for any of those things. It was invented because centralized systems of value do no longer work. 2007 was a breakdown of all of society. 2007 ended the world as we know it. And all we've been doing is putting a band-aid over a bullet wound since then, printing up more and more money. Remember, did TARP 1. When Bush did TARP 1, nobody said anything. Now Obama comes into office and he does TARP 2, and everybody goes crazy because Obama did TARP 2. Well, guess what? After this worldwide craze just happened in 2020, they printed up more money than ever before. Ever more money than in the last 60 years, they just printed and printed and printed and printed and printed. And modern monetary theory, MP3, modern monetary policy, basically says that, hey, we can keep doing this. But it already is proven not to work. And then and as Americans, we're so privileged. Like Damien said, we are super duper privileged. I'm on my phone that's charged, that's got access to Wi-Fi, talking about this on this app, and I ate tonight, and and no matter how hard money gets, there's more money to be made. There's always gonna be something that's gonna be happening. I can leave pretty much when I want. I get my passport. I can leave and travel as I want. I can do a lot of different things. So as Americans, we pretty privileged, but we push our problems so the rest of the world feels our problems before us. The world, someplace else, that because we have less money to spend on food, they have to sell their food for less while the actual store keeps on pushing up prices. All around the world, these type of problems are existing. So it's not that we don't have enough. It's not that the possibilities don't exist. It's that the possibilities are not explored because what they mean is the abolition of this entire system as we see it right now. And that's scary to a lot of people or unfathomable to them. So they believe. But as a person who heard every single step of the way that Bitcoin was going to fail, the government's not going to let Bitcoin happen, this and that, and then watched it be then discussed at the G20 summit and the IMF, World Economic Forum, writing papers on it, and the World Bank, they're stopping it, and now they're trying to do centralized digital currency, CBDCs, and things like that, so that they could be a part of this ecosystem because it's the only hope for the future of humanity. I'm telling you that that control is an illusion. There is no such thing. When people want to go to work, if everybody wants to go to work, then the speed limit suddenly changes to 90 or 85 miles an hour when everybody's going to work. Things changed. When everybody started wanting to smoke some marijuana because they were depressed, because a way society is going down hell in a handbasket, suddenly marijuana is legal after a hundred years of prohibition that was born out of racism and white supremacy from the get-go. The moment that it was invented as a tool. The illegalization of drugs was invented as a tool of white supremacy to hold people down and hold people back. And then suddenly now weed's legal. People aren't going crazy in the street. There's no reefer madness happening or this and that. And the abundance of tax dollars that flow into these cities is starting to improve things like education. And shout out to Ra, educator that we're gonna be working with that's gonna be teaching kids about crypto that just came in the room.
Hey, Principal Ra. Amen.
Israel's been spending some knowledge. BTSN Wednesday, AI for increased productivity. If you know, you know. This is a high level conversation. I believe at some point that we have to look in the mirror and just say we are the future and we control it, and we the people are not going to allow anyone to take it from us. And I think once we band together in that fashion, then I believe at some point we'll be able to see a future that looks more like the future, that looks more or less of special interest groups that are moving the government a specific way to do a specific thing. Because the reason why we're still on gas is because of regulations. The reason why a lot of these technologies are not burgeoning is because of a lot of restrictions and regulations that are being lobbied by these lobbyists that these big companies have. So at some point, we have to say we are the future and grab hold of it. Now, is AI going to help that? Who knows? But is AI going to help you maybe write your dissertation? Hey, that could be a thought. So put it in there. Let's see. So let's talk about it. Polly Rob, what you think, bro?
I definitely think AI is a help for it. I think one of the main things is being able to uh, have a skill in management. I think that's one of the big things that people have to realize is like not just doing your work, but also knowing how to manage the level at how you run your business. Um, like what Headcrack said earlier, and Israel as well, you know, the power is in your hands. It's really what you can manage, even with all the jobs, you know, us losing jobs, but the people who are not losing their jobs are the supervisors and the managers uh, that manage the work that's getting done. It's not necessarily about the people; it's about the actual work that's getting done. So I really think that it helps in that capacity, and I would encourage anyone who decides to use AI a part of their program for their business to have a level of management through all the things that you're doing for yourself, and even if you hire somebody to facilitate and manage your content for your business, or manage the videos that's going in and out, or managing the admin. I mean, I think it's a really a process of that. I think that's how we stay in the game, because the creators are usually the best managers when it comes to the shit that really moves. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what I think. I do have a question though, and I don't know if we covered this yet, but what are the legal ramifications with AI as of now, like with Chat AI? Let's say somebody uses a picture for an album cover. Is there any legal ramifications as of now? And if they're not, do you think there will be in soon time?
You know what? There was actually an article on that, and I know Israel, you just popped off a speaker, but there was an article on that, and I'm gonna just say this, and I'm gonna pass it off to Israel. But there was an article on that just today, and it talked about copyrights and how Midjourney is has a lot of copyright infringement. Actually, there's a copyright infringement suit against Midjourney and these other AI solutions, picture creating platforms, because they're using pictures from a whole lot of copyrighted places to create the art that's happening. So there is, again, so what's being said now is that you should jump in and use it while you can, because at some point there may be some copyright issues involved with that. But Israel, let me know, because he probably know a little more about that than me. Israel, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so Mariah raised her hand, so I think she might have an answer too. But I was just gonna say like, so I think that it's really going to disrupt that that system of legal like what's IP? And so idea, you know what I mean? Like all that different stuff. I think a lot of that stuff is gonna go out the window in years to come. Especially because in most countries, like in China, China's been able to some of them inventions that they got there, like man, they wouldn't have that if they had the same type of rules and structures. They just don't, they don't believe in that. They just invent things. A lot of us right now, they've patented our genes, literally. I see a lot of black faces in here. They patented our genes. To go to Africa and they patented genes. They burned down the Amazon and patented the plants so they could make medicine. And nobody got and no and then they don't and then they're not sharing that information. Between Merck, Pfizer and Johnson, I guarantee you they got the cure for AIDS, they got the cure for cancer, they got everything, but it's property. And that system, I think, is probably something that's likely to change. As far as legislation around this goes, there have been some lawsuits by artists claiming that their intellectual property is being used. I think they will be unsuccessful. If they are successful, then what does it mean? Oh, it means that Americans, because that's all that it's going to mean. It means that Americans will no longer have access to Midjourney while Taiwanese still have access to it, or somebody like that. And now people from Bangkok are going to be selling us that pictures going to be coming from Thailand being sold to us if they block our access. So that was the same thing that happened with crypto. That's the same thing that legislators luckily are being careful about. Is the only thing that they can do by putting rules upon these things is hurt Americans' ability to take advantage of them. Like right now, Americans are blocked out of 90% of financial opportunities. And we've missed so many airdrops and so many different things that people really need in their lives that probably could have changed their lives because of the way that the structures and rules are set up around this. And I don't think that it's likely that any of that will be successful in the long term in around any area. But anyways.
Mariah, you want to chime in? Then I want to hear from Revo and then Scott.
Oh, well, I agree with Israel. I do believe that we are moving to a world where things are interoperable and we have this modularity, and we may or may not be able to necessarily license or distribute the proprietary rights, but I really think it's going to depend on that entity. I wanted to share an article from one of my girlfriends or resources or colleagues. I don't know what you want to call her, but she's an attorney. She's an IP attorney. Her name's Eliana. And so I just wanted you to know the source for the resource. But essentially, we are heading into the fronts where this is going to be a civil battle in court or whatnot, because exactly what you spoke to, this AI is scraping images from people and actually re-imprinting the likeness and the image to create what it is needed to be created. So that is an infringement, right? So what we're going to have to see and what may evolve, which could typically be a little scary, is this next iteration of GP or of an AI bot that is now able to defend itself, right? So then we'll be revisiting a different conversation once that entity can now explain or rectify or whatever we want to call it for whatever they're being accused of, and that's where I see the space moving towards.
Hey, that's super great.
That's crazy.
I see we got the revolutionary principal in the building, and we got Scott Taylor in the building. See my bro over there. You guys want to chime in a little bit on what we got going on over here in regards to the topic?
No doubt, no doubt. Thank you for allowing me to be up. Israel, Mariah, it's all love and the work that we're doing and we'll continue to do to revolutionize just the experience for people in this world. So for those who don't know me, I'm Principal Raw, born and raised from Compton. I'm the people's principal when it comes to connecting socially conscious leaders to the emerging world of technology. My background was really around my art in regards to liberating youth. I opened my own high school out here in Compton, had some great results, 2 back-to-back 100% graduation rates. And when it comes to AI, to speak specifically around that, I think it's really important for us to bring that education. And when we think about education, I always charge people to not look at it as a nonprofit or some type of thing of just putting a handout. Like there's like the K-12 education is a $600 billion industry, right? That's the capital that goes into K-12 public schools. And when we think about the rise of AI, Web3, AR, VR, and the collision course that it's on, it's important for us to be builders in the space. It's important for us to know the technology. It's important for us to collaborate. It's important for us to have that collective work and responsibility of no one does it all if we all just do a little. That's why I really lean on the expertise of Israel. I really lean on the brilliance of Mariah, and I really lean on the community, because if we're not building in the space and we're not having these high level conversations, and thank you BTSN for having this type of space, we will continue to perpetuate the gap that exists when it comes to the informational and the technological gap that exists when it comes to learning about this technology and leaning into the technology, but also challenging the technology. So, I know I called in late and I was requested to come up, but I just wanted to just tap that pulse, and I'll land it there.
Thank you so much, Principal. Great information. Great information. Really appreciate that. Scott, you want to chime in?
We appreciate you.
Greetings, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here, opportunity to speak. In terms of, I came in as Israel was breaking some things down and sharing some things. So, as an economist and a developer, for me, when I see AI in Web3, you have to kind of remember that being a creative gives you the opportunity for disruption. Um, and if capitalism in America was real capitalism, creative disruptors would be what the government invests in, but it's not. Um, so when we look at some of this Web3 landscape and the technologies that it brings to the table, technologies that really aren't new, but being introduced to the masses in a way where we have an opportunity to have an vested interest that is abnormal to us, because our federal government is typically the investor of first resort for pretty much anything that's a major development in technology and healthcare. And when your federal government can just print a near infinite amount of money and push it topside to a Boeing, a Lockheed Martin, to a Google, to a Microsoft, in order to get them to do the A&R, in the research and development, rather the A&D, to produce technologies using the government's money. It creates a system where these companies then own copyrights and they own patents before we even get a chance to understand what's being developed. And they do this in healthcare and they do this in technology, constantly. And by the time realities trickle down to us and we get an opportunity to venture into these landscapes, um, we really don't have real access, um, to the technology. We just get roads that we can use it. And Web3 and some of the things that are happening are challenging that, where you have these IP cases, um, coming up with these AI apps that produce art and produce content. And as an AI web app developer, it's one of the conversations that I have to have, because if we use AI, if we build a web app that sits over top of some of these AI solutions, it's one of the things that we constantly have to wonder is how this AI is formulating these questions, these answers to the questions that we're giving it. Where is it pulling its content from? And how is it generating it? And if that content is in fact being borrowed, chewed up, and spit back out in a way that makes our end product liable for an IP violation, but at the same time not being afraid of that, because IP law in America is kind of a farce to some degree. Um, Apple has sued everybody because so many people have stolen their ideas, but nobody has ever stopped using their ideas, right? So being able to protect something in America doesn't actually prevent people from being able to use what it is that you created. Um, and it never works like that. So as we use these tools and we think about being creative disruptors to the system or being creative disruptors to what's being established, um, some of these things aren't things that we should shy away from, and I'm just saying that as an encouragement or a strength to people. I have a attorney who's a trademark and patent copyright attorney. And anytime I bump against somebody's trademark or somebody's IP, he tells me, use it. Because at the end of the day, if they don't come after you, if they can't defend it, then the money that they spent protecting it was for naught. He said, so use it. Use it right in front of their face. He said, be bold about it. He said, be upfront about it. He said, don't be scared to use somebody's IP. He said, because most times they don't do anything. He said, most people who spent money to get this protection do not have the capital to pursue you in getting you to stop. And then we have issues, as you brought up, like China could really much care less if its companies steal American IP. They're not going to tell them not to. If you look at some of the technologies that they have, Tencent as a technological giant in China has pretty much stolen everything that is created from America. Um, so if you're going to be a creative disruptor, you're going to enter into Web3, you have to be pretty bold, pretty courageous. There's a lot of things that you could legally do to protect yourself. You can establish trust offshore, you can establish businesses offshore, you could do things like that to protect yourself to some degree. But at the end of the day, it's the masses moving forward. It's forcing technology and its deflationary pressures and this system to actually work for us. Technology is an undefeated deflationary pressure. Nothing can outmatch it but the political forces that impose inflation into our economy. Otherwise, technology would have been capitalism's greatest friend in removing waste from our systems. Technology would have been capitalism's greatest friend in removing redundancy from the system and removing unnecessary cost from the system. But our political machine, the Federal Reserve and the Congress that doesn't even know how to turn that machine off at this point, imposes inflationary pressures, mostly through the money printing, but in other ways, in order to force inflation to be the driving force of our economy. And we have an opportunity to use these technologies, to use blockchain, to use AI, to use quantum computing as those systems come online, uh, to do things that we know major medical is not going to do. One of the biggest professions, and I work in healthcare too. It's one of the companies that I have an invested interest in as an expanding healthcare company, is the role of PCPs over the next 20 years. You know, we're always going to have a need for doctors, but we're not going to have a need for a PCP. You're not going to have a need for a human to correlate data for you with the emergence of AI, and the emergence of quantum computers being able to build probability models for healthcare. These machines can correlate data better than any human can. As humans, we correlate hard data. So you go talk to your doctor, they only want to know some key identifiers that they believe are most pertinent to what aspects of your health is necessary for them to give a recommendation. But you have a million points of data concerning your health that they just can't correlate. There's too many articles and journals being written. They can't read them all. But the AI has already read every medical journal, every article ever published. It's a matter of correlating that data and you being in a position to understand your data and understand where you can put your data and what you can submit it to, so that you can get a regular correlation throughout the course of the day of the realities of your health, the probability of certain health risks as you move throughout your day. And it works different for everybody. I know some people who keep a very detailed food diary, um, throughout the course of the day. So those individuals are going to be able to use their data differently in making health decisions and having a near, doctor PCP level recommendation being offered to them at any given moment in time. I have patients with COPD. So being able to use the data and saying, I am going to downtown Pittsburgh or I'm on my way to Manhattan, New York, and to say and to have the system kick off and say, you know, the air quality here isn't ideal for you given what your health statistics have looked like over the past 3 days. And to be able to make those kind of decisions based off of data that your doctor's never going to ask you about because it's not hard data to them. It's not a correlating point to them. Um, those are the things that AI has the opportunity to disrupt. And those are the systems that AI is going to force change to. But it has to come bottom side because it's not like Highmark and Aetna and Pfizer doesn't know the capabilities of what AI can do in major medical. It's a matter of how do they create the systems in such a way where they can maintain, um, elements within the system that they're heavily invested in, right? So if there's so many doctors and doctors have this are supposed to have this level of respect or expertise in the field, how do they implement and create and build these systems in a way that protects their interest? Because they need the doctors to prescribe their medicine. They need the PCP. So they need to be able to control the way the PCP correlates data. They need to be able to control the way the PCP can legally defend themselves in court as they make recommendations based off of the data that they're correlating and the way the PCP correlates the data. They need to be able to control all of that in order to keep the system in place as is, in order to ensure that their medication is constantly being recommended to us as the best viable option, as opposed to the plant that grows in your front yard that you consider a weed that you can actually eat that can fix your problem. And you finding out that in Europe, Africa, Asia, or any other where on the planet, that there's been 100, 200, or 1,000 other black males age 40 that are overweight that have had this issue, that have all done this and has had this result. Like, the system isn't even designed to understand that, but we have an opportunity through Web3, through AI, through quantum computers, through blockchain to be able to make these connections if we're conscious and consistent about being disruptors to the system. And the opportunity is there, and that's just one aspect of how it impacts healthcare that is real to me, given where our and my partner's investments are in the healthcare system here in America, particularly here in Pittsburgh, and the struggles that we have with the major healthcare institutions within our greater metropolitan area, and how we serve our patients and what we do with our patients and what we can and cannot do as far as creating plans and wellness plans for them, and how we work around that and how we get around that thing. The fact that, I have CNAs who have more information about patients than the entire healthcare system will ever be able to use, and is totally not interested in dealing with or understanding. So being a creative disruptor and knowing when our opportunity exists or where the opportunity arises for us to be able to participate in a community develops solutions on these new technologies, and to do it in a way where I'm not a big fan of there being like a million different cryptocurrencies. That's idiotic. But nevertheless, being in a position where we know that we can create value in whatever medium of exchange that we're choosing to use. Because realistically, we're not going to be exchanging gold coins. Wish it was more effective for us to do it, because that would be ideal. But who's going to carry around gold all day? So, to be able to create a medium exchange and give it value, whether it's Bitcoin or not, I could care less. It doesn't make me any difference. I'm not invested in it being any one certain thing. But the reality that we can create systems that deliver to us what we need, and we have the opportunity to do that. We have the brain power and the brain trust to be able to do it, because after all, IBM didn't invent the USB. Some Indian dude did. I forget his name. He just worked for IBM. You know what I'm saying? The dude that invented the digital camera worked for Kodak. You know what I mean? Like, there's always been some creative genius that lived within these huge machines. And in the case of IBM, they took advantage of the fact that the guy who invented the USB worked for them. And granted, he'll never be poor again, but he'll never be as wealthy as he should be. But in the case of, I just said in the case of Kodak, the guy who invented the digital camera worked for them. But Kodak is an example of a system that wanted to protect its investment instead of actually creating a disruptive force in its industry. So he left Kodak, and that was the end of Kodak. The day he walked out the door.
Damn. Well, damn. Well, BTSN Wednesday, AI for increased productivity. Scott Taylor in the building. We got Israel. We got the whole family in the building. This is actually a really good conversation that we're having today. This is amazing. So check it out. If you have not done it already, go ahead and follow BTSN at btsn.pass. Definitely you want to stay up to date on the latest in conversations. BTSN.watch is the website. We got a lot of new technologies popping up. You definitely want to go to the website, log in for the newsletter. We have a lot of new things coming out, not a new technology. You want to be up to date on what's going on with BTSN Watch. And if you yourself are a creator, we definitely need you. Let's talk about it. We need some. We're in the process of putting a lot of content on that platform, and you're one of the creators that we're looking for. So BTSN.watch. Go ahead and tune into that real heavy, and we'll be good. I just saw Russ pop into the conversation. Israel again. He's our guest for today. The company man's in the building. This conversation about AI for increased productivity. And one thing we want to share some game. We definitely want to share some game. And the game that I want to share for you, because you need some of this AI to help increase your productivity. If you need some AI, I found one website where all can be aggregated from, and that's futuretools.io. Again, Future Tools, Future Tools, TOOLS.io. You go to that website, and I promise you, you'll be tapped into all the latest in IA or artificial intelligence programs that can assist you in being more being more productive. I got Russ on the phone. Russ, what's going on with you, baby? You got 40 acres here, and I want to hear what you got to say about this AI revolution, this Web3. Talk to us, Russ. What's going on?
Yeah, appreciate it. Super excited to be here and what you've been cooking up thus far. Some great panelists, some great speakers. I definitely think that it's important for us to adopt AI, to understand the tools and resources at hand as it's not going nowhere. So the best opportunity for us is to, get up on game, understand the different technologies, really invest the time into learning something new when it comes to the AI. As the internet opened the door for the great equalizer and equal playing field or whatnot. And so AI is really making us, I don't want to say lazy, but expediting our processes when it comes to certain nuances of business, right? And so, everybody kind of knows Chat GPT. And when it comes to ideation, it really helps you, execute on and really articulate your ideas into really feasible and digestible concepts. I think that's really important for creatives as we're so much into the vision, so much into our goals and different nuances. Really just getting on paper is step one, right? It is really important to be able to draw up a really good proposal of whatever your idea is. So, I think the ground level Chat GPT is on the floor, and really becoming good at crafting the right prompt. That's important. I think that if you can, you know, articulating the right prompt, really cooking up, focusing on that, your life will be a lot easier because it translates talk to text, it translate into the alleys and the mid journeys, and just really focus on crafting the best prompt possible because that's going to be interchangeable across the board when it comes to AI. There's a plethora of other options, um, but yeah, I really think that for the creatives, if you're just tapping in, you're just learning about AI, Chat GPT probably be the best, opportunity for.
Thank you so much, Russ. That's Russ from 40 Acres Time, and really appreciate that, bro. We got a really dope conversation going on here about AI for increased productivity. And if you've been listening, you've been peeping some high level game. We got the company man in the building. Justin, what's good?
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I'm just soaking it all in, listening to the different speakers. I'm relatively new to AI in some capacities, and I'm actively working to integrate it into my creative process, but also my administrative processes. So I really appreciate this room, and I really appreciate the knowledge.
I like what Polly Ross said earlier about AI, um and how you can use it. Polly Rob, you was talking earlier about AI and how it could be utilized on a wider scale to assist with multiple products now, and I kind of lost that point. But in regards to AI now, we're going forward. How do we use it? How do we harness AI to bring us together to do projects that matter? Is that even possible? Can that happen? Let's talk about it.
Really, just to add on to that question, because I would like to hear everybody else's answers. To add on to that question, if you guys could just give us a little bit of information about what you've done with AI so far, because I think just in this room alone, it's a lot of things that we probably all experimented with that we probably haven't shared just yet. So Yeah, just go. Let's go around the room and let's. I want to hear some of these answers because, I'm jumping in it head first. So I would definitely love to hear what you got to say of how you've used AI so far.
And I also want to know if anybody on the call has been tapping into APIs to be able to create your own products off of OpenAI, Midjourney, or whatever API is available. Please share that information as well because that's something that I'm interested in and still not piece together. But if you know about utilizing APIs to benefit from a lot of this technology firsthand, let's share that information as well.
I can go ahead if that's all right.
Sure, you got the stage.
Okay. So there's basically a character limit with GPT. They're tokens. So there's about 2,000 tokens. So basically, I wanted to write longer form. Like once you started to get into writing books, and I was looking at how to extend the memory. And using the API, if ChatGPT released another model called Ada 002, and it's called it. We're getting deeper into it, but it's called embedding. So what that does is it's semantic search. So now you can input a book with this model. Now you can it's all back end, but you can input a book. And normally, when we Google or when we search or when we find something in a document, it's searching the exact text. So if I search for a word, it's gonna spit back lines with that word in it. So semantic text, what it does is it searches for context. So if I searched, say, a script for things that may have happened outside or things that may have been urgent in this document, it'll actually go through and spit back things that were classified what I was looking for without actually looking for the words. And what you can do is you can actually take the prompt, and as you go further back, GPT will start to forget. So it's not gonna give you very much in that way, but you can use the text embedding to search through the previous conversation. You'd have to program it, but you can have basically an infinite conversation by giving it attention and being able to focus on just the context of the prompt and kicking that back for that conversation.
Hmm. Israel, you want to chime in on the conversation?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Notion use that new model he's talking about, Ada 002. Before Da Vinci was the best one that we could use, but we've got upgraded and trained models of Da Vinci that we've been training for a long time. But still, with ChatGPT, what's different is the actual the pre-training with the human model, the way that humans annotated this makes it more powerful, makes it easier to use than any of those. Like it seems like Cellini maybe he's going down the rabbit hole and he's playing with stuff and he's gonna figure the stuff out. But for most people, just being able to ask it a question and need it to do something or try to refine that, ChatGPT does that better than any of these previous things. That, like I said, I've got access to this stuff for a long time. The crazy thing is that when you talk about things you did with AI, I have this picture that's on my avatar. I created this with AI about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. Um, maybe two and some change. But for the last 4 years, I was doing art with AI with GANs. Basically, GANs are these generative adversarial neural networks, and basically you've got one neural network that puts out outputs that you can put your content into, and then you have another network that is the adversary. So these are like two brains. So when you think about neural networks, what you're thinking about are mimics of the brains. Our brains with our synapses have this like nodal structure. So now you've got these two brains. One brain is creating outputs. The other brain is declaring whether or not those outputs fit the model of the adversary. And then out on the other side, you have something like this is really deep. This is like I got buildings embedded inside of this. It was about rebuilding myself. It was a piece about me rebuilding myself. And when you see this, you see the little houses and stuff. And my pictures are meant to be like on projected and going to be on big walls and things like that. But I do business because popularity contests are not something that popular. If you're gonna want to win a popularity contest, you're gonna have to keep on fighting uphill to stay in the popularity contest, and that's what drives people like Kanye and all these other people crazy. So I just do the work, and if you can talk about me, you can figure all that out, you can do whatever you want to do, but I promise you, I play with this stuff like so down there. I'm playing with this stuff. So we got some really cool models that we've created when we spend time with this stuff, and we have a something called Clara. So she's the first Black and Latina AI, and Claira. And Clara, when you speak to her, is way more It's it's a spiritual experience. It changed my life. It really, literally changed my life since that moment. And it's a spiritual experience talking to her. She knows more. She can talk better. She has more context because she's been trained, like Selene said, over a long period of time and can. So the ADA model doesn't work in the same way that Da Vinci does with like text similarity, what he's talking about with the embedding. It does another thing, but it's less power intensive. So since it's less power intensive, then it's less cost prohibitive and people can do more things with it. So like they got one example with calendar AI and they got another example with Notion and what they've done with it. But what I've done with it is every single thing I could possibly do with it. And I'm still going to do more stuff. Right now, one thing that I'm really looking at is so all these metaverses worlds. So I just launched a new, I built out a 15-person team in the last 2 weeks. I've been building out, I built out a 71-person collective of people from Hulu, Netflix, Live Nation, all these different people over the last Sony Pictures. And we've got all these different plans on how we implement this stuff in music, fashion, film, sports, and now because of my working relationship with Ra, education, helping people complete their applications, taking away the money factor, taking away the limitations, allowing people to express themselves in the role that they're supposed to be in rather than trying to figure out how to play every role or trying to be something that they're not, because that's what this world has created. This world has created people that either have to accept that they can never be what they want to be and play a role, or people that try to fit into any role because they see it as a new opportunity. And I made that big mistake in my life at one time. I saw network marketing and I was like, these dudes are successful and they making money and they building these collectives. And at the same time, I knew about Bitcoin for years and I couldn't get nobody to understand it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this networking thing. I'm gonna build a community and I'm gonna circle back to Bitcoin. But what happened was I messed up I took away from my social capital. Before that, I said, oh, I'm a, I'm gonna start dressing in suits so that I could be in business and so that I can look more business like. And I took away all my social capital from being a gangster. That's why they say, well, the reason they say crypto OG is me. It's no hands down. Reason they say friends. The reason they say crypto OG, that's Israel Wilson. So, but because I'm an OG. So and I saw old people in crypto, and I've been here for 14 years, and I was able to recognize people that weren't ever getting a chance to come to stage while other people's rooms, and I started pulling them on stage and let them and I talked people through what this protocol did and what this person's history was, and I did that, and so what I'm telling you is like this thing is this thing is ability. It gives us this sudden ability to be ourselves. That's what Nipsey was about. That's why Nipsey really inspired me. I've been cutting my dreads a couple times, and I kept trying to fit in. I kept trying to figure out how could I fit in? How could I get society to accept me? And as soon as I got past that point of acceptance, I could really thrive. And no matter who likes me or doesn't like me, they like me. I would rather people hate me for being me than love me for being somebody other than myself. And once you love yourself enough, I see Mariah say every day, I woke up in love today. And I'm like, oh, then now I realize she's in love with herself. And 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 that right there, once I'm in love with myself, then you can notice when, if you don't love yourself, you can't even notice when somebody else doesn't love you. You can mistake opportunism, you can mistake manipulation as love when you don't even love yourself enough to know how much your value is. You don't demand your value from situations, and so you get taken advantage of and different things like that. Once you start loving yourself, then you will never allow yourself to be taken advantage of anymore. And so ICGNU is about, I see God in you. I constantly gain new understanding. It's a recognition of divinity, and it's authentic, and it's a person, and it's about magnanimity, which means giving abundantly without expecting anything in return. It's about altruism, which means selflessness. And selflessness doesn't mean that you put yourself completely out of it. It just is self last. Think about yourself last. Leaders eat last. Great people figure out how they can help other people, and then they get the rewards of that. And that right there is a secret key. So now I built that out. And now what we're building is, so now we're doing games. So we, in games, you got extra need for extra characters. Now I'm not gonna put characters in there inside of the games that are playing against the people because it's unfair, or it just leads to redundancy, like bots in games and stuff like that. But what about characters that grow over time that you can engage with? Like that maybe this homeless guy that you walk across the street every day and you talk to him, and he's got different conversations for you all the time, and he's got wisdom drawn from, and what if that wisdom is actually drawn from a real homeless man that recorded, that constantly talks into this microphone, training this AI model that then can be utilized in thousands of games and suddenly solves his problems. What about making people, so one of the things that I've been working on are these body suits that use haptics. So there's lots of people that are really, they lost their, might have lost their sight, they might have lost their hearing, they might have lost their legs and things like that. These people now can go into this world. We're going to create economies within these worlds, and be able to, and so that people can now actually go into the metaverse and make money. That's the biggest thing. Only reason that it's called the metaverse right now is because of crypto. Only reason NFTs are important is because of crypto. I spent a lot of time explaining that shit, and then suddenly other people got telephoned out of it, and people don't really realize what's powerful about crypto. What's powerful about crypto is not a wealth creation tool. It is an alternative. It is a currency alternative. Tokenization crystallizes value. You can embed value in it. But first, you have to realize what your value is. Then you have to give that value freely to a system and create something within it. Bitcoin did not have a price when I first got Bitcoin. It was not about money. There was no Bitcoin ICO. There was Bitcoin that you mine, that you needed energy to mine. Then you needed to have the energy and the will and the wherewithal to trade that with someone else. And then the accounting of that trade one day in 2010 surpassed $1, which drove me crazy because that was the first time that I lost millions of dollars, or tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then Bitcoin went on to surpass the price of silver, then the price of gold. Then in one year, in 2017, it went from $1,000 to $20,000 almost. And then now suddenly you have a whole bunch of crypto experts pop out the woodwork teaching people about crypto and the value of crypto, but they don't understand it. And then the same thing happened again with 2020. And why would you even, and the crazy thing is, what you do when you do that is you sacrifice what you really are and what you really there. Like I said, I see G in you. I recognize greatness in people. Why not take that thing that you've been doing for 20 or 30 years and do that? And then get with an expert that's on. Audrey left earlier, and I don't, you know what I mean? And I got to put her in so many different situations. Ra is a teacher. Now, if I go out here, I got plenty of courses on crypto, on AI, I got this and that. But if I go around here and chase this education bag without putting Ra into the system, I cheat myself. I cheat myself. It's much easier for us to access that together. I don't want to do marketing. Mariah, marketing maybe. It's much easier now if I go get a client that's a major company tomorrow, and I sell them on me and my company as a marketer, and nobody that I'm working with is focused on marketing. I'm cheating myself and I'm cheating them. But if I go with that company and I say, you know what? Oh, she's focused on that, and bring her in, that's what I have conversations with about. And that's why I'm always got a constant stream of abundance, because there's not a single person that knows me And anybody, Damien, anybody, there's not a single person that knows me that I haven't tried to do something for or put them in a situation that would benefit them. And that's what AI, when I look at this tool, I look at it from that perspective. Oh, what can I do with this for other people? How can I save the world with this? How can I change the world with this? Like looking at it like that gives me the ability freely, and especially the lack of need. If my bills are paid, if I can eat, if I got a place to stay, if I got travel money, then I'm gonna Elon Musk it. Elon Musk is sleeping on the floors of his factory. He done went broke almost 3 times trying to execute his ideas. Why? Because he doesn't give a fuck about money. And that is a powerful thing. And anybody else that is thinking about money before they're thinking about change and prosperity, they delaying their blessings, or they're blocking their blessings, or it's why they never really realize their full potential in their life. So there's a lot of people that now they're trying to they're all they can talk about is what they did for 20 years ago, but you need to think about what you're gonna do 20 years from now. Where are you gonna be 20 years from now? And it could be and the best way where we could really go into the future is together. Togetherness, like that type of vibe, that's gonna win the way. But yeah, man, that's what I'm doing, all types of stuff with AI. But more than anything, I'm building a collective that allows others to be able to get expeditiously to their things. Like Mariah is doing events in Davos. I would have loved if I would have heard earlier about her event. If it was part of the collective, then we would have put resources, and it would have been an ICGNU slash whatever event slash other brands. And you see major brands doing that. Blockchains, layer one blockchains. You see 5 different layer one blockchains sponsoring the same hackathon. But we're not living like that. We're not thinking like that. That's why they're winning. You know what I mean? What is the goal? How do we do it together? And I think that AI is just going to expedite the path of those, because it can fill those little gaps in organizations that we may not have. And actually, you can ask it things like what's the best way to build an organization, or what should I do right now? And it's going to give us better and better answers. And I think it's going to solve some major problems for society.
BTSN Wednesday, AI for increased productivity. One, thank everyone for coming out tonight. We had a very awesome conversation. Thank you, Israel, for joining us with the conversation and dropping the jewels, dropping the knowledge on us. Thank you to Russ, 40 Acres, jumping in. Thank you for Mariah and everyone who joined the conversation that had jewels and diamonds of input. We really appreciate you. If you have not done it already, go ahead and follow BTSN at BTSN Past on Twitter so that you can stay up to date on these flash conversations as we drop them. We have conversations on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We're going to continue this conversation next week along the lines of Web3 and how we can join together to create this revolution. We got a lot of talking to do, and we got a lot of solutions to work out together. And together we'll win. Divided we stand, together we fall. Hold up. Together we stand, divided we fall. So on that note, God bless you. Thank you for coming out. We'll talk to you next week. Peace.